time
Mic
at
check.
OK Corral.
All right.
All right, let's do it. You came out of radio, right? You were in
What's
HR.
that?
You were in HR for radio for a long time.
Oh yeah, for almost 12 years,
12 years,
at
yeah.
Caleb and Air One.
So this is old hat for you then.
Well, I didn't spend a lot of time behind the mic. I helped the people that were behind the mic.
Check, Jerry. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Check. Checkity check. Yep.
Check. 1, 2, 3.
All right. 4 minutes, 50 seconds.
What am I hearing? Like text messages?
I think it's the phone.
Is it the?
I mean, it's a commercial.
It's a commercial. Oh, thought I was going nuts.
That was
Yeah.
I received.
That was your smartwatch.
It's a Fitbit, actually. So it better not be. I don't like these. They're big and they don't fit on my head well.
I think you eat your own cans. Keep saying that. You don't have to look at you yourself.
We have a couple of open slots too that need to get filled in.
I saw that. I will be working on that. One of the ones up for the entrepreneurs. I was thinking of.
Oh, well, because I moved someone that was in there to next week because our attorney had to cancel his season in
Did you
trial.
update the Google Calendar?
It's
Okay.
all updated.
Right.
Yeah, our lawyer, we were going to have a lawyer next week to talk about negligent hiring.
Okay.
But he is in a wrongful termination court trial, so he cannot be here.
In connection with.
No, he was not wrongfully terminated. He is representing a
yeah,
client
yeah.
in connection with a wrongful termination lawsuit, so he had to cancel.
That's too bad.
So now we have.
Do you want to bring him on later in the year? Or does it really not fit?
Yeah, I just have to figure out. I mean, he's an
Yeah.
employment attorney, so I'm not
Yeah.
sure where he'll fit. But we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about the theme. I feel like it makes life harder to try to fit people in. And I don't know if we're just not doing a good enough job promoting it or we're not leveraged CLA marketing enough. But I feel like people aren't getting the theme. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I got asked yesterday, what was March again? What was February? So it's like, it's not resonating. So maybe we should dump trying to put people in boxes and just go back to entrepreneurial stories.
We could.
That seems to be interesting to
We
people.
could. Well, we've got kind of a schedule laid out for the year.
Yeah, I know.
Themed.
Well, I mean,
But we could jump something in there that's not part of it, is what you're thinking?
or just migrate away from the theme and focus on just business, and it's, not market it as
Hiring and
healthcare
recruiting
month
month.
and hiring and recruiting month, but just like we've Brian the entrepreneur this week, and next week we have Eschaton, and the next week we have, I don't know. I really thought the theme thing was going to be cool, but it's
I
just
thought
not.
so too. I mean, because that's different than what, again, Rick and I had not done that. Rick
Maybe
and I
we're
were
just not doing a
piecemeal.
good enough job talking about it. What it is.
Maybe. I mean, I tend to emphasize it every time I introduce, like on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Yeah.
Or at least LinkedIn, and Twitter's enough characters to get, the theme is. And the same thing on the video.
Yeah, me too. I don't know.
Yeah, you've been doing it too, so.
Maybe we could keep going with it. I have a call with CLA Marketing today to talk about a webcast series I'm launching. So I'll mention it to her again and see if what they're doing with it.
Yeah.
They keep giving me all these hopes and dreams and then nothing happens. You know how it is. We're gonna put it in our newsletters and we're gonna go national. Yeah, okay. I'm still waiting. I like this. We can tie that in with what Brian does.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's why that was
Cool.
That
Which
does help me.
article is that one?
The social media make you a better leader.
Oh, okay.
Because I do try to, when I look for articles, focus on what the guest is talking about.
I like that you put that level of preparation into it because I'm more of an impromptu.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
Well, well, you're an accountant too, but I'll say that's accountant in me, but
I am more of a
that's the HR side of it.
improv. I'm more of an improv
Yeah.
character.
I'd like to live in both of those camps.
I prepare when I need to.
Yeah, when you give a speech or something, you prepare to. Although you said you did the other one recently, just
I
off
just
the
winged
cuff.
it. Yeah.
That would drive me crazy. I could not. Every time I've ever given a speech, I always spend lots of time prepping.
Yeah, I don't like that because then I feel like people will end up reading off of it and they're reading PowerPoint.
Agreed.
So I keep it very free flowing and just conversing. I just go to talk to people, and I figure I'm the expert, so they're not gonna know. You know.
Very true. There's a lot of truth to that.
Too much coffee this morning. I need to run some laps around this building.
Just light, low.
There we go.
In your HR.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5 FM, part of the Wall Street Business Network. I'm one of your co-hosts, Mark Bellows, a tax principal with Clifton Larson Allen, formerly with Galena, and I specialize in working with businesses and their owners in various disciplines, including manufacturing, distribution, construction, and real estate.
Good morning. Katie McConnell here, your co-hosts, professional of human resources, as the intro says.
Yes, PHR.
So, helping clients with all their hiring, recruiting, and related needs.
And you continue to stay busy.
Always, as we continue to talk about, and our guest Brian Burger here, a human resources professional, can attest as well, you don't really ever get a break or a lot of control over your schedule in this business. So, lucky
Yeah.
for you, you get a little bit of a breather now after
I
tax
do,
season.
yeah. Although I'm heading down to Fresno today because I've got a conference tomorrow for Thriving in the Valley Manufacturing. It's a manufacturing summit. So Fresno, there you go.
Fascinating.
Yeah, very fascinating. But I will have Friday off, so that'll be nice. That'll be nice. At least that's the plan. We'll see. Yeah, you mentioned Brian, our guest today, Brian Burger. Brian is with a company called ReflectNext.com. ReflectNext.com. All the bells are there. We're looking. ReflectNext Consulting. And you can reach them at connect@reflectnext.com, or his phone is 916-412-2965. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How's
very much.
your week going?
Amazing. This weather's incredible, and clients are a lot of fun.
I got spring fever right now.
Yeah.
It's golf weather.
Yeah, you were going to golf last week with their guests, and you guys did not end up doing that, right?
No, because it was raining, so we had
That's
to
true.
postpone.
Yeah. So you're going to make it up?
I hope so.
Yeah, hopefully so.
I still gotta follow up with her about that.
Are you a golfer, Brian?
Yeah, I do play about twice a year.
Oh, nice, nice. In tournaments kind of thing, or yeah?
Twice a year.
About twice a year with friends, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great sport that I'm terrible at, but I enjoy getting out there.
It's
nice.
a lot
great
of
way to
fun.
spend 6 hours or 5 hours.
I did not Easter egg hunt for Easter, but I feel like my golf game is a lot like Easter egg hunting. In the bushes, looking for little
Yep.
round things in the grass. Yeah.
You've
Yes.
seen my game then.
Yeah, well, not as much time spent in the fairway, a lot more in the
Easter egg hunting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. But we did an Easter egg hunt with our kids and some
Nice.
friends and stuff. But my kids are kind of old, so.
It's
Yeah.
still fun.
It's
If you
still
put
fun.
money in them,
Oh, totally.
it
That's
never
it.
gets
Yeah,
old.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have kids, Brian?
I do. I have 3.
Nice. What are their ages?
Yeah. 22-year-old son, 18-year-old daughter, and a 13-year-old son.
So the 13-year-old still did the Easter egg hunt, or?
No,
was
we
kinda
did
done?
color eggs
Okay,
though.
okay,
But yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. Color eggs is always a good one. We do that as well.
So a little bit about what you do. You want to give us a couple lines about what your business is?
Yeah, would love to. Yeah, so I help organizations and individuals bring valuable action to what matters most through interactive coaching and consulting experiences, bringing clarity and confidence in the results to follow. Ultimately, bottom line, I help them with their people and their organization and identifying their priorities and make it happen for them.
And so part of what our theme this month has been is hiring and recruitment and retention type things. And so we're kind of today talking a little bit on the retention.
Yeah.
And that's part of what you do or what you
Absolutely.
What you do. I don't even know the word I'm thinking of. See, I'm old. I can't even think anymore. Gosh, at 52, I can't even think. My head's going crazy. Anyway, that's part of what we're going to talk about today is retention.
Yeah.
And retention is more than just, as we were talking about before the show started, throwing money at people. It's a lot more than that. And a lot of people want more than that today. So we'll talk about that in more depth.
Absolutely. I mean, with this market especially, I don't know if you're seeing it, I'm feeling it. Folks are leaving. You know, the market's picking up. It's not just about the dollars, but it's about the opportunity. It's about my 401k has a better balance in it, so maybe I can go part-time now as I phase out of my career. There's all kinds of different reasons why we're seeing movement, but folks are just not staying. And it's not just the millennials, as we talked about at the very beginning of the month. It's everybody.
It's everybody.
Exactly.
It's across the age spectrum, if
Absolutely.
you will.
Yeah, Gallup, in fact, they did their State of the American Workplace findings report at the beginning of the year, and they found that 51% of the employees out there in America are actually looking for a new opportunity.
Wow.
Is that 2 out of the 3? At least 1.5 less?
Yeah.
Katie? Nice video.
And if they're not actively looking themselves, they're open to the opportunity, which is
And I'm finding
astounding.
that too, is, well, I'm happy where I'm at, but, you know, might as well talk about it. And I would encourage candidates, it doesn't hurt to explore
Consider
the market.
options, yeah.
It doesn't hurt to go to the interview and just check it out. You never know what could happen.
Exactly, yeah.
So 51%, huh?
51%. In fact, one of the biggest pieces that I'm finding with my clients, and it's what Gallup also found, is that 1/3 of the workforce in America is engaged. Now, a lot of people aren't quite sure what engaged means. They think a lot of times like, well, people aren't having fun at work. And it's actually a lot more than that. It's that people aren't engaged in the work that they're doing in terms of giving extra effort into the work.
That makes 3 minutes, sorry.
Nice. Yeah, and so 1/3 of the workforce is engaged.
Only 1/3.
Only
so
1/3.
2/3 don't feel engaged.
So they just show up, bang out their work, go home, don't participate in anything extra. Well, a lot of companies don't have team building events or community service or anything like that. They're just not doing it.
Yeah.
And those are the types of things that would make people feel engaged.
Absolutely.
That's part of it. The other piece, which gets a little bit more into the business side of things, is that they're also finding that most of the employees don't feel that they understand the vision of the organization and where the leaders are trying to take the organization and how they fit into that. And that's a huge part of the engagement piece, is really pulling people along.
And I think what you find is you probably have a lot of business owners that don't know that either.
I was just going to say that, and I think
Right?
maybe we should talk about that on the show later on in the year, is going about that.
And that's part of what you do, Brian, as part of
Exactly.
ReflectNext does, is help companies determine their vision and their strategy and that type of stuff, right? So-
Exactly, yeah. What I've actually found is that most leaders and organizations, they're not quite sure what's actually keeping them from remarkable results. They're getting results. They're succeeding enough to make the payroll, to have some success, but they're not getting the remarkable results. And so what I do is I come alongside with my ReflectNext framework and help them to break through the noise and the distraction of the day-to-day that they're involved in, and to gain clarity about what is their priority, what is it that they want to accomplish, and then how do we go do that using the strengths that they already possess and have. How do you make that happen? And that's by bringing some focus, clarity, and a plan.
When we get back from commercial, I want to talk a little bit about your thoughts on sort of nature versus nurture, if you will. If it's about the right person, or if it's about, you know, anyone can be the right person with the right coaching.
Nice.
You know, I used to think that we could turn anybody into a good employee, and I don't know if it's age or just a loss of hope or jadedness, or I don't know, but now I kind of feel like, you know what, sometimes it's just the wrong person, and it's as important to get him out of there and get the right person as it is to try to, you know, keep
Get the
throwing
right person.
spaghetti at the wall and
Yeah,
see what sticks.
definitely.
Well, and
What's your thoughts on that?
yeah, we'll talk about that. We're going to go to commercial in a few minutes, about 30 seconds. But I think what I've seen happen sometimes is someone will be working at a place and go, you know, I can do this myself. So they go start a business thinking, I can do this.
Yeah.
But without the vision, without the strategy. And sometimes they're successful, but they're still lacking that, so they lack engagement from employees. All right, we're going to take a break. When we be back, we'll continue the conversation with Brian Burger. You're listening to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5 FM.
They cued you off like the Academy Awards there.
Exactly. Unlike Academy Awards, though, they will go to commercial.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Unless you start talking about politics and go on a Trump rant, then we're just gonna cut you off entirely.
There you
Depends
go.
on which side of the aisle you're on, though. Whether or not they'll keep you.
I'm not sure which side you're on, because
No, but I mean the station here
No, I
is
know.
a decided edge, so they would.
I try
Which way to go?
I try to play both sides because I have opinions that go both directions too. So
Well, and this isn't a political show, so we're not about politics anyway. So.
I like to make a little controversy once in a while.
It's fun. That's always fun.
Great.
Okay, so there's my
Oh,
commercial.
here's my commercial. Never mind. No, it's not.
No, that was
Let's
mine.
stop. Okay, forget it. No, this is,
Did they use a female or male voice or both?
it's
yours?
both because they're
Okay.
having the
Okay, yeah.
conversation at lunch.
You got a lot of energy this morning.
Hmm?
You've got a lot of energy this morning, huh?
You know what? I feel like I got a caramel latte, which I never get, and the sugar and caffeine. I
gosh.
feel like I'm having heart palpitations and I'm like freaking out. Like, nope, not my commercial.
Ah,
Yeah, I
come
feel like
on.
I drank some cough syrup that I'm allergic to or something. I'm just going nuts. It's not good.
And we're back. You listen to Beyond the Numbers with Money 105.5 FM, part of the Wall Street Business Network with Mark and Katie and our guest Brian Burger. If you want to call in, the number here at the station is 866-576-1055. And again, we're talking with Brian Burger with ReflectNext Consulting. And so, before the break, Katie said she wanted to talk about something after the break, which is
Yes,
Okay.
I wanted to get the
Yeah.
professional's opinion on whether you can make a ho-hum employee into a great employee with the right coaching, or whether sometimes you just gotta get them out of the chair and make a swap.
Yeah, that's a really difficult and challenging situation, and that really just depends. And I'm not dodging the question. It
but there's
really
probably a lot
just
of
depends.
complexity. I mean, a lot of
And I
aspects
ask
to it.
partly,
Yeah.
I work a lot with family-owned businesses, and I see a lot, well, we really like Jim. We really like him. He's been here for 5 years and he's just sucks, but we really like him. And so they
He's a good
don't
person.
yeah, he's a great person. He's really good with the people, you know?
He's not doing a good job, but we like him.
Right, but he's an accountant and he doesn't know how to do debits and credits, but he's good with customers. Okay, well, maybe let's put him in HR or something, you know?
Yeah, and that right there I've come across throughout my career as well as with the clients that I work with. And so sometimes that's a really difficult call to make, and that comes down to the bottom line of, are they in the right seat on the bus?
Right.
And so many times if they're not in the right seat, then if they're a great person, if they're a great culture fit, if they are actually adding value to the organization and that they believe in the vision of the organization, then find the right seat on the bus for them and train them up and coach them up. However, if they fall into that 13% of the employee population that is a naysayer, that is not in favor of the vision of the organization.
Only 13%.
13%.
I would have thought it was higher. Wow.
You would think it's
Yeah.
higher, but the reason why we think it's higher is because they're very loud and they're
Okay.
always talking about
Very
how
true.
everybody agrees with them. When in fact, it's actually 51% of the population. This is a Gallup poll stat. 51% of your employee population is in the middle. They're waiting to be led either towards, hey, we're all in, we're for this, we're in it. They're waiting to see if they can join the 1/3 that's engaged, or if you pay a lot of attention and try and fix that other population that are the naysayers,
Right.
that 51% will go join them because they're like, I'm looking for attention, I'll join them.
Right, a little poison in the well and the whole thing's getting
Yes.
Yeah. So the only 13% are the naysayers, but they're loud typically.
They're very loud, and so now you have a choice. And this is a difficult choice, and it takes courage for a leader to step in and say, you know what, I'm not going to focus on the naysayers. I'm going to focus on the people that are engaged, and I'm going to move towards our vision with clarity. I'm going to understand where we want to go as an organization and make that happen. And then naturally the naysayers, half of those naysayers will join in the fun. And you can correct them towards and move towards engagement. The other half, they'll self-select out, or you may have to help them with choosing to leave and to find something that they're feeling better about.
So that sometimes that's the case. You've got the naysayers that are there, but sometimes I think, to Katie's earlier point, sometimes you just have the wrong person in the wrong seat.
Yeah.
Well, Jim Collins, Good to Great, talks about, get the right people on the bus and then get them in the right seats on the bus.
Exactly. Jim Collins, phenomenal. Great book.
So if someone's in the wrong seat, how do you try to find a spot for them in the right seat? I mean, what's the strategy that you see people employ that works?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is that it's about relationship in an organization, and it's about trust. And if you can build that trust and that relationship, you can sit down with those individuals and have an open, honest conversation about what's happening. What are the expectations within the organization? What's the culture that is a part of making that vision happen? What's the why? We were talking about before the start of the show, understanding your why as an organization. And so you can sit down and have an open, honest dialogue about how that fits for that person. And if it doesn't fit, then have the compassion to come alongside them and help them to find what is a fit, whether that be in your own organization or in another one. But have it be about relationship. That's been a great success for companies I've been a part of.
Unfortunately, I see all too often the employee doesn't know that they're not performing. And, you know, I come in and we're doing a confidential hire to replace the person, which, you know, my job is to hire. Your job is to help them understand that, hey, if you gave this person some coaching, maybe it's still going to result in an exit, but it's going to be a lot cleaner, more mutually beneficial if we sit down and start going through some performance management of this person.
So agree.
Which nobody likes to do performance management, right? It's this ominous thing. It feels like a scary conversation. I see companies dodging it left, right, and sideways.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, that's one of the big pieces that Gallup came out with as well, and it's been my past experience as well, and that is that to have a successful organization, you have to invest in your leaders and your managers and help them to be able to become coaches within the organization. And that's sitting down and having crucial conversations. That's sitting down and celebrating the wins. That's being in a relationship with your people where you're all moving in the same direction and making that vision happen.
So going back to engagement, what are some tools that you've seen, maybe inexpensive, that employers can implement that will help employee engagement? And I have an example. I have a client out in the Bay Area, construction company, and they have a giant bell in their lobby. And every time they win a contract, they ring the bell. And it's very loud throughout the whole organization, but it's very exciting when the bell gets rung because all the employees cheer and they know that when that bell gets rung, we just had a win.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's very inexpensive, it's fun, it's kind of obnoxious. I loved it.
That's beautiful. I love that. And that's such a huge cultural moment, right? Everybody gets to celebrate together in that moment.
Right.
And so I think probably one of the most inexpensive ways to improve engagement, communication. Unfortunately, a lot of organizations don't communicate very well, and they don't necessarily understand what their employees and their people are looking for in terms of information. For instance, 22% of employees strongly agree that leadership of their organization has a clear direction for the organization. Only 22%.
Yeah, that's pretty low.
And what that is saying, if you look at that, what it's saying is that the people within the organization don't know where they're going. And so to communicate clearly where we're going, where we are, and then how are we going to get there, that's probably the least expensive thing that you can do, is to communicate openly with your people.
I really like the simplicity of something like a bell. I'm not a fan of the SharePoint or the intranet, we put it in the newsletter and we buried it in this 400-page document within your 2,000 emails a day you get.
There are lots of ways to communicate.
Right.
Some are more effective than others.
And I agree with you. I think
the email thing.
Look at that. I get overwhelmed, or I lost my password, or I don't know.
Yeah. The company intranet or the SharePoint. Yeah, that's a tough one.
It just becomes this web.
So much noise.
How do I even log on?
Yeah, well, Zappos has done a really great job of figuring out how to communicate. So many years ago, they were lifted up as a company, great example of how to be a successful company. And they would do these huge all-employee meetings. And these were not just normal meetings. These were meetings where the employees were entertained with some fun, and the leaders came out and they were just very authentic and real, and shared real information in a fun, realistic way with their people. They were vulnerable and they were open and they were honest. And so finding the bell example, finding those things that can connect with your people, powerful.
Very powerful, yeah. So and engagement is important, right? I mean, as we talked about, and try to keep people, you gotta have engagement, a strong level of engagement. And I think we talked about going back to a company having the why.
Absolutely.
And well, not only having the why, but then their employees understanding the why. And so you talked about, as part of your role with ReflectNext, that's one of the things you do is you help companies discover what that why is, and then because the what is, at CLA, the what is a tax return, or it's an audit report, or it's a consulting engagement, or it's a new hire for an employer. I mean, that's the what. But the why and the how is what keeps Katie and I there, right? I mean, that's
Exactly. Yeah, Simon Sinek probably has the best book on this whole topic, and it's all about the why. For years, organizations focused on the what. Go do this, go do that. Now, it's all about people understanding the why and how they connect to it. So what's a why? The why is a belief. It's a vision statement. It's where is this organization going? And then the how, like you mentioned, is, and so how are we going to get there? And the how is, it's about behaviors. It's about your culture. What are the values of your organization, and how do we do things here? And really understanding that.
That resonates with me so much, thinking about clients. I specialize in construction companies. They're all building something, or underground utilities, and they're very focused on being very good at that. However, the market differentiator in a saturated market is really, what are we trying to do? What's the difference between Nike and Adidas? Is it fashion? Is it quality? What's the difference between all these shoe companies? That's really what their mission is and what they're trying to get at.
Yeah. Yeah, and what would be interesting to hear from you too, Katie, is your experience with hiring people. So when I go in and help organizations to better understand their why, one of the pieces I try to bring some focus to is within an individual's role of that organization, how does that role connect to the why? What's the experiential component of that connects to that?
because people want to feel like they have an integral, maybe at best, but at least a part of what's going on in the organization, as part of the company.
Exactly.
And that's something that I coach clients on when we're going through the hiring process, is focus your interview questions on the needs of the business and how this employee fits into that. Not just tell me about your experience, what have you done, if you were a balloon animal, what balloon animal would you be, or some obscure thing.
Is that a serious question that people ask?
No, I just made that up.
Okay,
But I mean, it's just as irreverent and voodoo hiring, right? And then all of a sudden, okay, he seems like a nice guy, he'd be a poodle balloon animal, that's not offensive, let's go with that. Whereas, well, does he really meet the needs of the business? Is he going in the same direction as you? Well, I don't know, because we didn't talk about it. Well, pull out your core values and let's start there. Here's what we're all about. What do you think about that? And if you don't have any, call Brian or somebody like Brian and bang out a document so that you can make the right choices.
Well, and on the other side of the table, the potential employee, they're looking at you going, well, why do I want to join this organization?
Absolutely.
Right? And if you've got, well, because we make good shoes.
Right.
Well, so does 5 other companies. Why you're a good shoemaker versus the other? So
right.
you got to have something that
they can hold on to.
Yeah, and then to get, once you hire them, if you want to retain them, you've got to be able true to what you said in the interview, right? And I'm sure you've run into it before. People say, they promised me X in the interview, and then I got working there, and there's nothing like it.
Oh yeah, and then you have an 18-month window with them, and then they're moving on to the next thing.
Which is so expensive from an employer's point of view to hire and fire.
But it's
people and
so
replace.
commonplace.
Oh, yeah.
I think employers are so jaded. They just think, well, this is the way that it is.
Cost of doing business.
Right. And this is just the way that it is.
And it doesn't have to be.
Exactly.
I want to talk more about, and maybe when we get back from the break, how for companies that are listening in and going, oh my goodness, I have so many deficiencies. These are some things I should be doing that I'm not. But it's such an uphill battle. This is going to be too hard. We're already where we are right now, and it's not broken. It could just be better. So why even bother?
There's some good simple steps that you can take to get to great.
Well, good. We'll be looking forward to hear more about that when we get back from the break. We're talking with Brian Burger with ReflectNext Consulting. You can get a hold of them at 906-412-2965. I need my glasses. Also, you can get a hold of them through email, connect@reflectnext.com. And if you want to call into the show here when we get back from the break, 866-576-1055. We'll be right back. This break's a little bit longer.
Maybe my
Jerry,
commercial.
Moody Blues.
Jerry, what?
Jerry's got a little Moody Blues in this Moody Blues.
Oh,
Knights in White Satin.
there's so much to talk
Mellow
about.
vibe.
The Knights in White Satin. You gotta be careful with the race crisis
That's the name
going
of
on
the
now
song.
that you can't say those kinds of things. That's off air.
Off air.
Yeah.
There there's we could talk about this all day, literally.
Oh yeah.
There's just,
Absolutely.
this is kind of depressing me actually, because most of my clients fall into the bucket of, you need to be doing more of this, and they just think, well, we build stuff and we're the best. Okay, but that's not enough, especially when you only offer 1 week of vacation and you don't match the 401k. You know, so what, and some of them are, well, we have really low turnover and we're a family-owned business and people love us because we're a family. Great. It's not a strong differentiator, but it's better than nothing. And then they're expecting me to go poach out of competitors when they don't really have a strong differentiator. And I'm trying to pull these selling points out of what's there, and I'm realizing I should be recommending more of this stuff.
Yeah, well, any help I can be to you or your clients, I'd be happy to help them. It's and truly, it's one of those things where you just take it one step at a time, and really, it's starting at the why. And if you can understand your why and your how, you can start to really dive into these things.
I just don't think a lot of business owners go through that exercise.
Right.
I think they're just so busy doing the what.
Exactly.
Well, they also, I think, see it oftentimes as sort of a kumbaya.
Yeah, exactly.
And I get that.
Yeah,
you know,
no, we're not gonna do that shit.
we don't have time to go beat the drum because
Yeah.
we have to we've got to make shoes.
Yeah, making money.
But it's, you know, how many more shoes can you make if people are excited about what you're doing and they understand how they contribute?
Yeah.
Are we back?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
It's a longer break. I'll get some more water. You good, Katie?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
2 minutes. Oh.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. We'll archive this after so you can
Nice.
do what you will.
Very cool.
I think he tweets it too. I don't know because I'm not a tweeter.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I saw it on his Twitter feed. Yeah.
We have a YouTube page too that all this stuff gets on. Mark's in charge of our YouTube page.
There you go.
I'm sure that's on your list this week, right?
What's that?
Our YouTube page.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah, that's actually been one of probably my biggest challenges is the whole social media piece. You get so busy in the day-to-day, and I mean, it's part of my piece that I share with you, but you get so busy in all the noise and the distractions of the day-to-day, you can lose focus on what's most important in the moment. And the social media, that's really tough to stay up on top of.
Yeah.
It totally is.
One of the things I really try to coach my clients on, and I'm sure you face this too, I just bang my head against the wall about it. Owners, you shouldn't be changing the label. You shouldn't be reviewing AP invoices. But I started this company and it's my baby. You need to let it go because number one, that's how you develop your people, and number two, if you're on the end of the fire hose holding on to it, you're not looking at how can I really systematically do a controlled burn and keep this under control. You're just fighting the fire, and they don't walk away. And you can't.
It's a comfort thing.
Move out of working in the business and more working on the business.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
The CEO, I mean, that's their role.
That's an uncomfortable space for most of those folks, because like you said, they started it. That's what they know, and that whole nother place, they don't know that space, and they don't know necessarily who to go to find out what that looks like.
Yeah.
That can be a scary space for a leader.
Absolutely.
Look, mine is not fitting now. How did they get stretched out? Where's my what? Yeah, where's my commercial, Jerry?
Big bucks. We're back. Big bucks. I first thought it said something else, but Jerry, and we figured out it's big bucks.
Yes,
Song
that
from the
other
40s.
that was Sir Mix-a-Lot you're thinking about.
Yeah.
That was a
Oh
different
boy.
time.
I know. So you listen to Beyond the Numbers with Mark and Katie and Mark, and our guest today is Brian Burger with ReflectNext Consulting, and we're continuing a conversation about retention, employee engagement, that type of stuff. And a couple things that we talked about during the break that I'd like to touch on if I can remember. Getting my old head, I forget some things. But one of the things we were talking about is sometimes you and we run into, and I see it with clients and I see people out there in the business world, someone who will have started a business and then they're growing, and so sometimes you got to transition their role, right? And so I've seen people who started a business and now it's growing, and now they're trying to step back into more of like a CEO type role, but they're busy I gotta answer the phone, or I gotta make sure I'm checking an AP invoice or whatever it is, right? And so, so learning how to step away from that and work more on the business and get away from working in the business is a difficult thing for some
Very
executives.
difficult.
So hard.
For business, someone who started a business.
Especially with the startup, when you're in that phase when you feel like, well, I should be doing billable hours instead of focusing on strategy. But if I focus on strategy, I'll probably in the long haul have better results.
And if they focus on strategy and vision, then they can come up with a better framework for a company which employees can then ultimately be more engaged in. I mean, it really is a win-win down the line for a lot of reasons, including what we're talking about today, engagement, employee engagement and retention.
Yeah, and most leaders really struggle with that, especially if they've started the business or were a part of it from the very beginning, because what they know is being in the weeds. What they know is fighting the daily fires, and that's a comfortable space for them. And it's difficult when you don't know the next space to go into. And that can be an uncomfortable space for a leader to be vulnerable and to recognize and want to ask for help and know that they need to ask for help to know, okay, what's my new role going to be? What does it need to be in order to grow the business? That's a difficult space for a leader to be in.
And they like the day-to-days of what they started doing. That was their trade. So It's hard. I mean, I think I see some of that in our industry also, where at the level that you're at, you should be focusing on strategy, bringing in business, but you love those clients, and you want to keep servicing the clients.
Right.
And I think what you will happen sometimes in organizations is the new employees, as the business grows, some of them will see the CEO doing what they're doing and say, that's not what I'm looking for from the leader of this business. You know, if I want to be engaged in this business and I want to grow with it, I want the guy or gal that's in charge to actually be, have strategy, be thinking about that versus being the one that's out there doing this fighting fire.
Or conversely, they think, oh, he sits in his ivory tower, he or she, and doesn't do anything because he's not boots on the ground, and here I am, in the trenches.
That would be
So I think that comes back to communication of explaining to your people, this is what our C-suite is doing, and this is how they're moving the machine forward.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got an incredibly savvy workforce out there. We have to recognize that people are incredibly savvy. You've got about 50% of the workforce are millennials now. And those folks, they understand social media. They go out and they see what other successful businesses are doing. They've got the Googles of the world to look at to understand how that company is operating and running. And they're comparing and contrasting all the time. They have so much information available to them to learn about leadership.
So much information at our fingertips through business books, through, like you said, Twitter and LinkedIn and other forums like that.
Exactly.
So they can see stuff real time.
Exactly.
Well, everybody
So why isn't my company doing this?
Not just millennials, everybody can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they're incredibly savvy from a psychological perspective as well. So you take a look at high school students are reading the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. They understand the difference between a mindset that's focused on being growth oriented or a mindset that's fixed and stuck in a space. They are very intelligent and aware of what's going on, and they can see when things aren't moving in an organization like other successful businesses are.
Gotta have it to keep up.
Yeah, and then that challenges you with your retention.
I think one of the things that I find with companies is this seems like too much of a hurdle. It's going to be too expensive, or it's just going to be some brouhaha where some consultant's going to come in and ask every one of my employees, what's your sign? Okay, we're going to rearrange the cubes so all the Leos are with the Aquariuses, the fire and the water.
Yeah, they think it's going to be like some touchy-feely
Yeah, exactly.
kinda,
We're going to sit around the campfire and pass around the talking stick, and we're going to hug, and then everything's going to be better.
Yeah, well, here's a stat I'll give you that might wake up the folks that aren't necessarily passionate like I am about people and people just being happier and more fulfilled in their lives and contributing even more. Gallup found that organizations that really focus on organizational health, engagement, that they grew at a 4.3 times greater pace than organizations that didn't. So if you don't necessarily care about the touchy-feely stuff, which engagement is not just that, but if all you care about is the growth of your business, invest in the health of the organization, and you're going to grow faster.
Well, and I would argue that, and I'm not advocating that astrological sign is the best way to build, to evaluate your team. However,
StrengthsFinder.
any
That's
kind
not
of
so much fun,
exercise,
but
even
basic.
if you're getting people together and asking what's your sign, any kind of exercise that develops folks to explore self-awareness and how
Yeah.
they interact with one another, even if it's voodoo magic, is a good team building exercise to get your team working more cohesively.
Absolutely. I took an organization that has offices in 27 different states, took the entire organization through DISC and motivators.
Love DISC.
And it was an incredible way to open up and to start the conversation about, oh, how am I wired? To become more self-aware,
Mhm.
which then allowed people to then become more aware of others and where and why they fit so well together, and where those challenges were coming up. And then it opened up a dialogue to talk about, oh, why are we having this challenge? And how do we move past it? And so that's one simple way to move forward as an organization.
Well, and if the managers in the organization understand that stuff about their employees, and so they therefore manage them a little bit differently, right, but more effectively,
Yeah.
then it makes those employees that are being managed feel better about being there, more engaged.
Yeah.
That word,
Yeah.
it has a positive effect all throughout the organization.
Exactly, yeah. A little over 4 years ago, I helped an organization go through and completely blow up the annual review. The annual review is dead. If you're doing an annual review, it is not helping your organization to move forward.
You mean like an annual review of an employee?
Exactly.
Okay.
And instead moving towards
Oh,
regular conversations on a day-to-day basis about how performance is going.
we have a
We
caller.
have a caller, all right. So
I don't know what to do.
That's our first time. We need to push one, Jerry.
How do we answer it?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, caller. We can hear you all right, Glenn. How you doing this morning?
I love it.
RQ, respect, reward, and recognition.
Love it.
Mhm. Mobile, yeah.
We are gonna thank you for the call and the question. I think that's a really good question, and that's
Yeah.
something we want to address. And we're gonna take a commercial break, and then when we get back, we'll address the question on the air.
Thank you so much, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
calling
you.
in. Appreciate it. All right, when we get back, we'll talk to Glenn's question about old days stay with the company forever. Nowadays, people change jobs. What does that mean? We'll be right back.
Wow!
caller. The only downside is that people can't hear it on Facebook.
Big
Sorry.
milestone.
I know. It's a good question. And I think that's the right thing to do, right? You take the question, then you hang up, and so they're not going to be sent on hold forever. So
That's awesome.
What's that?
I think that's the right thing to do. You get the question from them, then you say thanks and hang up.
Yeah, a little teaser.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I like
the R
this.
cubed.
Yeah, I want to take note of that.
Yeah, so R cubed.
Respect,
Does anyone
reward,
know him, by the
recognition.
way?
Glenn from Citrus Heights.
Glenn and Citrus Heights.
Okay, cool.
I do not know Glenn. Citrus Heights.
Interesting concept, gold watch versus ambition.
I can definitely give my opinion on that, which is that if you create a world of opportunity big enough, then your current opportunity can be a stepping stone within the organization.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the book Jeffrey Weiner from LinkedIn wrote? What is that called? Oh gosh, what is his book? I'll forget, it's in my office, but he talks about tours of duties within an organization, and large organizations like Google and LinkedIn are doing tours of duties where they're sending them to different places, which is a great way to keep people. And I think companies think, well, if I get 3 years, then they move on. Well, keep elevating the position and you're going to get longevity.
Right. Yeah.
So if you get ambitious people who are the ones you want, keep them by facilitating their ambition.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's where companies miss the mark, and that's why people move on.
Yeah, companies as well as individuals in life can get stuck in a scarcity model. Oh.
And we're back. We're listening to Beyond the Numbers on Money 105.5 FM, part of the Wall Street Business Network. Katie and Mark and our guest Brian Berger and Glenn from Citrus Heights called in right before the break.
Citrus Heights is our new star.
He mentioned the R3, respect, reward, and recognition, and he said often when people leave, it's one of those 3 reasons.
So true.
So true. And then his question was, in the old days, people would come, join a job and stay forever, kind of get the gold watch, being 30 years, and now that's not the case. People tend to change jobs more frequently. Regardless of age, as we talked about at the beginning of the month, regardless of age, people tend to change jobs frequently. And so, is that a problem? If he's looking at someone's resume and sees all these jobs, should I think of them as a job hopper, or should I think of someone who's actually taking advantage of opportunities? I mean, so how do you as an employer process that? I think is what Glenn was getting at.
I struggle with this a lot from a hiring perspective with my clients, because they look at that and say, oh, this person's a job hopper, they're not loyal. And to Glenn's point, that's not necessarily true. It's more than likely there's a story, especially with the economic downturn that we went through in certain industries, but also that they are looking for ambition. And if you create an opportunity big enough for the candidate within your own organization, then that job can be a stepping stone, and you can retain the employee by moving them through the ranks within your company. If you're not creating that opportunity, then your opportunity is just going to be a stepping stone. And what's wrong with that if your candidate outgrows you?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that I've experienced is that most folks are looking for a gold watch experience. But that's an experience within an organization that they believe in, and they're connected to the vision. Right. And those kinds of organizations are building out pathways for people to grow within them. They're incredibly purposeful about career movement for their people. They don't view it through the lens of, oh boy, well, if I invest in them, they might leave. No, in fact, if you invest in them and give them an environment in which to grow in, they're going to stay.
Absolutely.
Now, listeners are going to be sitting back going, okay, yeah, but my company's really small. I don't have a lot of opportunities for people to grow in. Okay, well then, what is your perspective on growing people internally so that they can then move on to the next thing outside of your organization, but meanwhile, they're growing the people below them to take their role?
Yes. Soapbox moment, this makes me mad. Companies tell me there's no talent in Sacramento. There's no talented employees. There are, to your point earlier, many savvy, talented employees.
Incredible.
However, they're not necessarily prepackaged with all of the skills that you're looking for. Why? Because they haven't had the opportunity. And to no fault their own, they're very talented. You're just looking for the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
And I fight this battle day in and day out. We have to have someone that has all of these skills. Well, that person doesn't exist, so you're going to need to invest in them.
Mm-hmm.
Soft skills and in hard skills. Deal with it, get over it, swallow it down, and do it.
Yeah.
Mic drop.
The big mic drop. I love it. The advice that I've given to many of my clients is culture fit is number one priority in an organization.
Yeah, culture fit.
Preach over here.
You can train up skills left and right within people, but typically it's a much harder road to try and bring somebody in and get them to fit into your culture.
Yes, you can teach someone how to use a software platform, but if you have a bad apple, they're going to be a bad apple. They're going to taint the pods.
That 13% of
the loud, the
misanthropes, the
squawkers.
naysayers,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So many times also there's the concept of cost of entry, right? So that hey, I'm looking for somebody that needs to have these absolute skills, and that's my only cost of entry. And I think that's just short-sighted to only look at the skill sets in terms of cost of entry, whereas that culture piece is primary for me.
What's your advice for overturning that? Because this is the biggest battle that I fight as a hiring professional, is I get clients that say, I have to have these things. And I try to educate them. I tell them, no, half the time we get there, half the time we don't, and now I walk away from the engagement and I won't take it on anymore. And so I'm losing out on clients, but at the same time, I'm not setting my team up for failure when we've taken on the job for the impossible unicorn and then we don't fill the role. So my solution thus far has been to just not work with the client, which doesn't help them or solve the problem. They're just left on their own, not getting results.
Yeah, so a lot of times what I'm finding is most organizations and most leaders are really having trouble to see what it is that's keeping them from the remarkable results. And typically what that is it's all the noise and the distraction of the day-to-day. And I mentioned this before, and that noise and that distraction keeps us from focusing on and seeing what is most important now and what valuable action can I take to meet that need now, to be focused. Instead, the fires show up and people go and firefight. And so I think the biggest thing is to help an organization to slow down and get greater clarity about what is the priority at hand right now. Is it filling the role immediately, or is it better understanding what we need long term from this role and its fit in our organization?
I say aptitude and attitude are what we should hire for. Secondary to skills. But I fight this uphill battle day in and day out when they tell me, no, we have to have, if they haven't done this in this size organization, then they're not going to work for us. Well,
that's a tough
not
one.
with that attitude, they're not.
Yeah, that can be a tough one to overcome.
That definitely can be, yeah.
But there are those who are open, as you talked about, to learning how to overcome that.
And you know what's so funny is those clients are the ones that I'm seeing experience rapid success. Those are the ones that I call in, how's Jane Smith doing in the role? Oh my goodness, our backlog this year is more than what our revenue was last year. We're doubling this year.
Well, the four times growth, right?
Right, because we have a team of people that is really excited about what we're doing, and they're willing to roll up their sleeves and get the job done.
Yeah.
And they're willing to learn. And these are the organizations that are doing better than the ones that are just looking for the prepackaged person that they can just fill the hole with.
Yeah, and this actually connects to one of the pieces of the Gallup poll. They found that 12% of employees strongly agree that their organization does a great job onboarding new employees.
12%?
12%.
That's horrible.
That is a really challenging piece to overcome.
Yeah.
And in a marketplace, which you spoke to earlier, Katie, that there are people looking for work left and right. 51% of the people out there are willing to look and to change jobs, and it's a great marketplace. And if your
onboarding is so poor that only 1 out of 10 feel like that was good, then you're vulnerable.
It's easy stuff too, right?
Yeah.
A sign at the entryway when they get there on their first day, a welcome card, some, just little touches that say, hey, we're excited that you're here.
Yeah, and ultimately what that does come back to is the culture of the organization.
Right.
Are your people important to you? Are you going to invest in them? And to make sure that the laptop and the workspace is ready to go, the highlighters are in the drawer, the chair is at the table, and that you've got a lunch planned for them, and that it's not just a one-day event, but you actually have a game plan for their career. And that sounds complicated, but I'm here to tell you, it's not.
Yeah.
But that really shows a lot to the employee when they're coming on board, if they feel like that you are as invested in their success as they are. Because if not, then they're not going to be engaged, and so then I think you run the risk of them being part of that 88% that feels like the onboarding and doing me to get in, I feel like I'm flailing.
And something really easy too is to make the first day feel like it's not a work day. Something I've done for companies is implement a coffee social where everyone in the office comes in for coffees and donut in the morning and says hi, and the employee gets to meet everybody. And
you implemented that at Galena.
I did. Yep. I mean, you want it to feel like it's kind of a party where the person goes, wow, I loved coming there. It was so much fun. and then all of a sudden it's not a party anymore after a couple of days, but it doesn't feel like, here's a pile of paperwork, please read through this, sign up for your 401k, we're going to stuff you in this corner, don't bother us because we're busy and you don't know anything yet.
I remember my first day of work, this was in 1989, but my first day of work, I got thrown in a desk and there's your tax return, get started. I have no clue how to use the software or hardware or how to, none of that stuff.
And now it's an expectation that there will be some kind of red carpet experience, if you will, that at least there's going to be a lunch or a coffee social or a balloon tied on your chair or something.
And some people come back to the well, that's part of the whole touchy-feely, you know, blah, blah, blah stuff. But the reality is...
Get over it.
Yeah, the reality is that people, and again, not only millennials, but all people like that type of, they want that type of treatment because then they feel like they have a part in this business and they're more than just another number drawing a paycheck.
Show me somebody that doesn't want to feel special.
Yeah, if you're a number drawing a paycheck, you're fine leaving.
Exactly.
If they don't care about me and I don't care about them, then I'll just look for the next opportunity, and there's 51%.
Yeah. And bottom line, if you take great care of your people, you're going to grow at exponential rates. It's been proven. And there's the flip side. What is turnover costing you?
Exactly. We're talking with Brian Burger, ReflectNext Consulting. Brian, thank you for being on the show today. It's been great having you on.
Thanks so much.
You can get a hold of Brian at reflectnext.com, or you can call him 916-412-2965, or his email is connect@reflectnext.com. And again, ReflectNext has all the vowels.
So excited about having Brian here. I wish I could work with you every day.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, well, you can refer clients.
I can try to recruit him. We'll see what happens.
So, who we got coming on next week, Kate?
So next week we've got Daniel Ramsey, entrepreneur, founder, and president, CEO of My Outdesk.
My Outdesk.
He is very big on people engagement, hiring. He's got some unconventional methods, but very interested in hiring for aptitude, attitude, not for skills, investing in people. Very excited to have him next week.
Daniel Ramsey, My Outdesk. Listening next week. You've been listening to Beyond the Numbers. Glenn, thanks for calling in from Citrus Sites. And for Mark and Katie, we'll say goodbye and we'll see you next week.
Happy Wednesday. Yay.
Thanks so much for having me, guys.
Thank you for being on.
Oh.
All right, everybody.
That was awesome.